I'm going to sit here smiling for just a second until I see. I know we're live. I'm not seeing my screen yet. Yep, because there's a bit of a delay. Anyway, hi everyone. It's Bryan Barron from Paula's Choice Skincare. I am the director of skincare research. I may not look like it sitting here in my flannel, but I work from home, so I dress a bit differently than if I was going into the office. There's nobody around here to impress, but I do have to impress you guys with what I know about skincare in terms of helping out with your skincare questions, skincare problems. I want to hear about your skincare solutions too. Don't ever be shy about sharing those with me. We're all in this together. Today's live chat is going to be on the topic of serums. The general category of serums, what are they? Do you need one? Should you use one instead of a moisturizer or with a moisturizer? When in your routine do you apply a serum? What about all these serums that Paula's Choice has? How do I decide? And on and on and on. So before we get to that, since I've been away for a couple of weeks, let's see, last Thursday was Halloween, and I took that day off. I wish I could say like I did a ton of like really cool stuff, but I mostly just did stuff around the house and chores and napped. I was really ill that the days leading up to Halloween. I was in New York the week prior attending the In Cosmetics North America show, which was really cool. Got to go to the flagship Manhattan Nordstrom store at 57th and Broadway. Is it 57th and Broadway? I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I'm sure you can find it very easily. It is a gorgeous new Nordstrom store, 7 floors, 320,000 square feet of retail and dining space. I'm sure it's going to be a big hit. This is Manhattan's very first full-fledged Nordstrom store. Some of you may know that Nordstrom is a Seattle-based company, just like Paula's Choice. So we kind of, in some ways, grew up together. What was particularly cool about this Nordstrom store, separate from the fact that Paula's Choice is proudly featured as one of the brands there, is that the beauty section, which encompasses 2 floors. There's the main floor, street level, I guess you'd call it, has the cosmetics department very nicely laid out. It's very spacious. There's some beautiful installations. The Dior and the Chanel one, of course, leave it to the French, are just stunning. And then you kind of wind up this pathway. There's stairs and an elevator as well for those who may prefer that type of a lift. You go up. What is it? Oh, what is it called? They have a particular name for it, but that is the portion of the beauty department where you can get well over 100 different services done. There's private rooms. You can get things done right out on the sales floor. Your typical makeovers, touch-ups, hair services, things like that. I don't think they do haircuts, but it's just incredibly cool. The staff was amazing. We're incredibly proud to be featured there. For all of you who are watching, who live in or regularly visit New York City, you can get Paula's Choice right in Nordstrom. How cool is that? Anyway, so whirlwind trip. Beautiful, beautiful fall weather in New York, though. I was so happy about that because I love walking around New York. I try to avoid taking public transportation unless I'm running late or the weather is just awful, and then didn't have to worry about that this trip. So it was great, and unfortunately, pretty much all of the Paula's Choice team that went there, and there was 5 of us, I believe, altogether, we all got sick. A little bit with different things, but it was just, last week was just kind of a blur of one thing after another in terms of illness. But I'm on the mend. I'm feeling much, much better, and took my son out to trick or treat, and we this particular Halloween we had an interesting mix of rain and snow and very strong side winds. So as you can imagine, it got pretty uncomfortable pretty fast, although we somehow managed to stay out for over an hour. That kid is a trooper. My subdivision does a little Halloween parade. It wasn't as strongly attended this year because of the weather, but those who came out were the diehards, and we made it happen, and it was still a lot of fun. So, let's talk serums. I'm going to be talking about serums primarily as Paula's Choice defines them, because one of the frustrating aspects of the serum category is that there isn't necessarily a hard and fast rule in terms of what is a serum and what is not a serum. Brands kind of come up with their own definition of them, but the guiding light, so to speak, is that serums are generally thought of as more concentrated products, more treatment-oriented products. So whereas a facial moisturizer may or may not be anti-aging or have some treatment ingredients in it, serums by and large are. There are some lackluster to just terrible serums out there, but the majority of serums fall into the good to great category, and they I obviously we're not privy to the quantitative formulas for every other serum out there, only to ours. So giving those brands a benefit of the doubt, and based on what we know about cosmetics formulary and ingredient concentrations, I think that it's fair to say that a lot of brands get serums right, and that they are worthwhile products to add to your routine. Paula's Choice looks at facial serums as a product that you can consider adding to what we call an advanced routine. And an advanced routine would be a skincare routine that goes beyond the basic steps, which we consider an essential routine. Basic steps, as we define them, would be cleanser, leave-on exfoliant, which is kind of a point of difference for us. A lot of brands don't offer that product or feature that step, or if they do, it's a face scrub, which is really more of a more thorough, deep type of cleanser, as opposed to what an exfoliant, an acid type exfoliant can do. So cleanser, leave-on exfoliant, daytime moisturizer with sunscreen. Those will be your 3 steps during the day, and then at night, because you don't need sunscreen at night, you would swap out your daytime moisturizer for a nighttime moisturizer. An advanced routine includes those steps, but adds a toner, which you'd use after cleansing, and a serum, which we generally recommend applying before your daytime moisturizer with sunscreen. Actually, that is the guideline, because sunscreen should always be the last product you apply during the day. And at night, you can apply the serum before your moisturizer, your night cream, whatever it's called, or after if you prefer. And what to do, I kind of gauge that by texture. If your serum has a thinner, more fluid texture, and most of them do, and because most moisturizers for night tend to be on the thicker side, not always, of course, there's gels and lotions out there, but because if you have normal to dry skin, for example, and you use a night moisturizer that has a creamier texture, it would make more sense to put the serum on first and then kind of seal everything, so to speak, with your moisturizer. So that is the general application rule in terms of where serums go in your routine. Now, if you're like me and you have normal to oily skin, I don't always use a moisturizer per se at night. I've been using an eye cream on the regular, and really, I mean, I love a Resist anti-aging eye cream. I probably should use the clinical. Oh, and by the way, this is just a quick segue. For those of you who've been watching a while and may have recalled that I mentioned taking collagen supplements, I am almost to the end of my bottle, my giant bottle. So it's been just about 3 months, and do you see my wrinkles? No, they're gone. No, they weren't. What I'm getting at is that wrinkle reduction, fine lines around the eyes, I did not see what I would consider to be a big improvement or even a moderate improvement. I would say it was subtle at best. However, given my skincare routine, given what I do for a living, all of the different products from Paula's Choice I use, the fact that I wear sunscreen every day, I try, except for my son's Halloween candy, to eat a healthy diet. There's a lot that I had going for me prior to taking the collagen supplement. Someone who has had more sun damage, who hasn't been using great skincare for as long, would likely see better results than I do, because I think when you get your skincare routine and the environmental protection down, and you're avoiding those things that hurt your skin, irritating ingredients, unprotected sun exposure, which includes tanning, smoking. I am a former smoker. Some of you may know that. If you can believe, I actually did used to smoke. Stupid, stupid, stupid. So glad I quit, which has been about 8 years now, 7 or 8 years. Anyway, but what I did notice and continue to notice is that taking the collagen supplements, and I was taking a type of collagen called Verisol, which is hydrolyzed collagen peptides, my fingernails and my toenails have never been stronger or healthier looking or grown as fast. It's crazy. And the thing is, I haven't even seen anything in the literature about collagen peptides. There probably are studies on that. I just haven't looked specifically for them. I'm more like collagen and wrinkles, collagen and new collagen deposition in the dermis, that type of thing. But man, I actually had some dents, I guess you could say, in a couple of my nails. And I showed it to my dermatologist, and she's like, it's probably not a health disorder. Nothing else about your nails looks off or strange. You could have a nervous habit of like picking at your nails. I'm like, oh, well, that sounds like me. Anyway, that's pretty much gone away since I've been taking the collagen. So I plan to continue taking it, although I'm going to switch to a powder form because the collagen supplement that I was taking, I think, gives me too much vitamin E. I'm a little leery about taking as much vitamin E as that collagen supplement gives me and doing so long term because of the mixed research on oral intake of vitamin E and potentially fueling some other health concerns, including lung cancer, which, former smoker, have to think about that. But there are forms of this collagen that you can take that don't have the vitamin E. It just so happened this particular one did. I don't know why. I don't think vitamin E makes the collagen more bioavailable. It could very well be in there at that amount to help preserve the collagen itself because it's such a potent antioxidant, vitamin E being that is. Okay, I really got off track there with that story. I see some questions coming up. Let's see. What else can I tell you guys about serums? Serums compared to moisturizers, just to make sure that I cover this. Generally speaking, it is true that serums are more concentrated. They are either non-aqueous, Paula's Choice, meaning no water. Paula's Choice offers several of those. We also offer some water-based serums, but typically compared to a facial moisturizer, serums are going to contain less water, potentially more in the way of slip agents that help to hydrate and help. Slip agents are a necessary part of an example would be glycerin or the glycols or propanediol, isoamyl laurate, ingredients like that help a product glide over the skin, that give it that nice aesthetic feeling. But one of the things that they also do that really isn't talked about that much is that those ingredients can, some of which are also penetration enhancers, can also help ensure that you are getting an even deposition of the good ingredients across your skin. They can also, in certain cases, and depending on the ingredient, help keep those bioactive ingredients like the antioxidants suspended in a formula so that you're not having to shake it before every use and hope for the best. Let's see what kind of questions you guys have. I'll talk about serums throughout the hour. Obviously, I'm a fan of them. I have Let's see. I have 3 serums in rotation from Paula's Choice right now. I'm using our Calm repairing serum. I'm using our earth-sourced Power Berry serum, which I think is just fantastic. You need that serum in your life. And I still use my longtime favorite, which is our Resist Super Antioxidant Concentrate Serum in the dark blue tube. And there's one more. I just don't use this one quite as often, is our Resist Intensive Wrinkle Repair Retinol Serum. Why don't I use that one quite as often? It is because in my routine for the last several months, I've only been using retinol 2 or 3 times a week. And when I do that, I kind of go to the big gun, so to speak, and I pull out the, is it still? No, it's in the booster line now. It used to be in Resist. The 1% retinol booster. So that is my primary retinol product. It has been for the past few months. I'll occasionally weave in the serum, and sometimes I'll apply them at the same time because that's just giving me a touch more retinol without kicking things into the category of being irritating. I am one of those people that has to be careful about how often I use any retinol because I can get a little bit of flaking and sensitivity to it. Sensitivity in the sense of, I've described it in the past as almost a sunburn-like feel, minus the redness and the warmth that you would typically get from a sunburn, if that makes any sense. Okay, let's go to some questions here. Sailor says, hello, Brian. Would you apply the azelaic acid booster before or after a thick serum? In Sailor, I would apply the azelaic acid booster first because if you're using a thicker serum, chances are it is waterless. Our original Resist serum in the dark blue tube, the Resist Intensive Wrinkle Repair Retinol Serum, our Skin Recovery Serum, those are all non-aqueous serums that we offer. They do tend to have a thicker, more viscous feel. They're not heavy, they're not occlusive. Remember, they're silicone-based, and remember, silicone creates an air-permeable barrier on skin surface. It does not suffocate the skin. It does not trap things in the skin that therefore can't get out. I'm just kind of thinking of some of the things that I've heard over the years about what people think silicones do to skin and clogging my pores. And, just as another quick aside, silicones from a chemical molecular standpoint, they really aren't capable of clogging pores. However, because very few silicones in skincare are used by themselves, there's always other thickening type ingredients, emollients, emulsifiers. More than likely, those ingredients, which are typically harder to pronounce, not as common, not as bandied about, silicones have kind of been vilified in a sense, but those ingredients may be the culprit, and the silicone is that formula is keeping them in the uppermost layers of skin as long as it's on. So that could have something to do with it. But because the azelaic, getting back to Sailor's question, because the azelaic acid booster is water-based, it's a cream. It looks like a cream when you first dispense it from the tube, and then it kind of thins out when you apply it. It's not a heavy product. That is why we have categorized it for all skin types. It's a great product. So yeah, I would put that on before your serum. Guideline though, experiment, reverse order, see if you like the results better. Some of it really does come down to personal preference. The ingredients will get through to where they need to be. Please don't get too preoccupied with that. It ends up just being one less thing you need to worry about. Susan says, I love the Skin Recovery Serum, but the package leaks around the cap. I wonder, all right, Susan MFMCF1, in case there's other Susans on the list that I haven't seen yet. Are you referring to the new packaging in the pump? Are we offering that in the pump? I think we are. I haven't experienced any issue like that from... No, okay, it's still in the tube. Some of our serums, if you've may or may not have noticed, and clearly I'm not as up on this as I should be, have transitioned out of the squeeze tube and into a pump. I believe that is on deck for skin recovery and skin balancing serums. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. There could have been a change in plan there. Um, but the 2 Resist serums, the retinol serum, and the new Omega Plus, well, not new, newer Omega Plus complex serum are in an opaque bottle with a pump, which is something that a lot of our customers have been asking for. It is a true airless system, whereas the squeeze tubes are air restrictive. They are still, those tubes are still great packaging. I mean, I still have an older version of the Resist serum that's in a tube. I'm not throwing it away. I'm not worried that it's gone bad. There's several layers, special layers of plastic, air barrier plastic. The needle nose is what we call it for those tubes. It has a very, very tiny opening. And as long as you're not, when you dispense it, as long as you're not letting the tube completely reinflate every single time, because that progressively, what happens is that sucks air back into the tube. So you want to try to keep the tube depressed and then dispense what you need, hold, and then put the cap back on. That's the best way to deal with those air restrictive tubes to ensure maximum potency. All right, moving along here. Monica Dougal says, hello, Bryan from Central Canada. Winter is already here. Will not make a Game of Thrones joke. I love PC serums for normal to combination skin needs. Interested in trying serums. Other products for cold, dry Canadian winters for my skin. Monica, I would love to introduce you to the Moisture Renewal Oil Booster. It is our concentrated facial oil blend. No water. It is 9 non-fragrant plant oils plus 1 ceramide, which I believe we chose that. Oh my gosh, it's snowing outside. Well, look, it's winter here in Michigan too. We chose that 1 ceramide because it is the most abundant in skin, and there is also a little bit of cholesterol, which you're like, hey, shouldn't we avoid cholesterol? When it comes to skincare, no. Cholesterol is actually part of skin's intercellular matrix, part of its intercellular fluid, along with ceramides. So cholesterol plays a key role in helping to establish and maintain skin's protective barrier. So it's an excellent, what we consider a skin replenishing ingredient, whereas ceramides are skin replenishing and skin restoring or cell communicating, because those fun little ceramides can talk to other cells and say, here's what I need you to do to make this area of skin healthier. Here's what I need you to do less of. Here's how I need you to work with lecithin. Here's how I need you to work with glycosaminoglycans. Very, very cool. All of the, I guess you'd say, crosstalk in skin that ceramides help facilitate. They got big jobs to do. So I think that Monica, using the oil booster either as a last step at night, or you can mix a few drops in with your nighttime serum or moisturizer. What I often will tell people with dry skin in cold winter climates is that I still want your moisturizer with sunscreen to be the last skincare product you apply during the day. But what you may need to do if that daytime moisturizer with sunscreen isn't moisturizing enough for this time of year for your skin, apply a non-SPF facial moisturizer. And again, you can mix in a couple drops of this oil underneath your sunscreen. So yes, it's an extra step during the day, but for dry skin in a dry, low humidity environment, which is typical of northern winters, it can be a godsend. So between that, and then I would suggest, if you haven't tried it yet, the Resist Anti-Aging Eye Cream, which is super rich and very thick. It's almost like an eye mask. It's very balm-like. It dispenses in almost like a solid white chunk. And I'm not making this sound very appealing, but trust me, you take that little chunk, for lack of a better description, and again, this is a product I use quite a bit, you dab onto the periorbital area. It warms up to your skin. It's shea butter. A lot of shea butter in that eye cream, and shea butter is a butter-like ingredient. And just like putting a pat of butter on hot toast or bread causes the butter to liquefy, to melt, the same thing happens with this eye cream on your skin, but you're left with this really protective, very cushiony, long-lasting layer of rich moisture. You will still feel this eye cream the next morning. That's how long it lasts. And I find that because I use that one at night, it's the rare instance where my daytime skincare isn't hydrating enough for the skin around my eyes, because that moisture from the night before just really carries me through. Sometimes if I'm feeling a little like my skin's looking a little haggard or more dehydrated, I might throw on some of our eye gel, but I pretty much rely on that eye cream to get me through. Tim asks, will the skin balancing serum ever, where'd your question go, ever be reformulated? One of your older formulas that has always had texture issues for some. More options for oilies, please. Love from Tokyo. Yes, I think that you will see that serum reformulated eventually. We're aware of some of the issues it's had. They're generally, though, we've made tweaks over the years, and some people may find that they still need to shake that serum. Here, one of the emulsifiers that we would ideally like to use would change the texture of that serum so that if you have oily skin, it would feel heavier. And we don't want to go in that direction. It's kind of a compatibility issue, in that we don't have a whole heck of a lot to work with to make that change without drastically altering how the current formula feels. So what I would suspect that we would do with the reformulation is move to something that is more water-based, which automatically will give you a thinner texture. Where is your Tim? If you haven't tried the new Defense Triple Algae Shield or the Earth Store's Powerberry Serum, those are two examples of very lightweight serums for all skin types, even oily skin. Paula, as someone who at age 65 still has oily skin, she loves the Resist Ultralight Super Antioxidant Concentrate. So that would be another option to consider. That one is more for normal to oily combination skin. I would say, though, between the three of those, the Defense Serum, the Triple Algae Pollution Shield, which is an amazing formula, that was a lot of fun to put together. That is our lightest overall, and very soothing, very protective, very anti-pollution. If you are living in Tokyo, I mean, let's be honest, Tokyo is one of the more air polluted cities, given the industry there and the population. So you need that pollution protection, just as I would advise for anyone living in an urban environment. Ellen says, hi, Brian. I use double cleanser, toner, niacinamide booster, 2% BHA liquid, and I rotate with 1% retinol, 10% AHA moisturizer, radiance renewal mask, all PC. Can I add the vitamin C booster? Ellen, do you have time to do that? I'm kidding. Yes, of course you can. Let's see. I don't know. I would ask, like, if we were having a phone consultation, I would ask what you feel your current lineup of products isn't doing for you. So I think you're using plenty already in terms of skin tone improvement, dullness elimination, boosting that radiance. I think you're doing a lot there. So adding the vitamin C booster, I would say, would make the most sense only if you have some brown spots or other discolorations that your niacinamide and retinol aren't getting to enough. For a lot of us with discolorations, you need to use multiple higher strength, more bioactive ingredients to target the different pathways that those pesky, bothersome, I have them too, skin concerns present. It's like one ingredient works via this way, one ingredient works best via this way, and it's kind of like a multi-pronged attack, if you will, to get to the root of the problem and really get a hold of it so that you start seeing more dramatic improvement. The other reason to consider vitamin C in the form of the booster would be if you feel that your current routine isn't doing enough for you in terms of skin firmness. Vitamin C, especially in that amount and as ascorbic acid, is well known for bringing about some amount of collagen repair and also helping skin to generate fibroblasts, which are the cells that make healthy new collagen. So you could use it for that as well. But I never want people to use more than I think could really benefit their skin, or more than they really need. So if you can honestly look at your current routine and say, I'm really happy with what I see. My skin's gotten a lot better and I'm not as bothered by this anymore, then stick with what you're doing. Don't add the vitamin C. But if those other things I mentioned apply and you feel like your current lineup isn't quite getting you there, then it would make sense. And you don't have to, you could alternate it with the niacinamide booster, just as one example. Maybe you use the niacinamide booster at night and the vitamin C in the morning. I love vitamin C during the day because of its the ancillary role it takes in protecting skin, not only from airborne pollutants, which are more likely to be exposed to during the day, particularly if you work in the city and you live in the suburbs. It is not that pollution goes away at night. For the most part, in our modern day world, some amount of airborne pollution is always present. We're talking concentrations and level and degree of exposure, if you will. So I like vitamin C for that, and also because of its role in helping to mitigate the inflammation that UV damage causes. Remember, no sunscreen is 100% effective. That's why they're no longer able or allowed to be called sunblock. They don't block the sun, they screen it. And just like a window screen lets in some light, a sunscreen lets in a small amount of UV light, which don't take that at all to mean that sunscreens don't work. They absolutely do work. They're just not a lead blanket for your face or any other exposed skin. Let's see. Moving on. Nisepi says, you mentioned a resource website a while back, which I believe was supposed to be about ingredients and research. Can you please name it again? Thanks. That may have been, there's PubMed, which is kind of the general hub. There's Science Direct. There is consumerlab.com, which is a site that primarily reviews supplement ingredients. Very well done site. That is a subscription-based site, pay per use or pay for an annual subscription. The other one that I may have mentioned would have been Natural Medicine's Comprehensive Database, which is also a pay subscription site. I think there's a certain amount you can access, and then you hit a paywall and you've got to sign up to, go further. That one, I don't use it as much as I used to, but it can be a fascinating insight into a lot of natural ingredients, and they compile the research both from a medical and a nutraceutical, for lack of a better word, perspective on what research has shown that particular ingredient can or can't do. And we used it a lot to find out what adverse effects certain plant extracts, because we especially when we were reviewing a lot more products for Beautypedia, when we were working on the Don't Go to the Cosmetics Counter Without Me books from years ago, and for those of you who have been with us even longer, the Cosmetics Counter Update newsletter, we would often come across products that had plant extracts, because again, there are thousands of plant extracts. We come across a new product that had a plant extract that none of us were familiar with, and so we would rely on Natural Medicine's database. 9 times out of 10, they had that plant extract in their database. We could go in, look at what was known about it and what wasn't known. We would always, if there wasn't a whole lot that site presented, we would then go look at other sources and see is there anything connecting this ingredient to skin? What does the research say about topical use, both good and bad? And sometimes we wouldn't find anything. And we would often say, we're not quite sure why this plant extract wound up in the product. There's no information anywhere pertaining to its value for skin. On the other hand, there's no information pertaining to its risk for skin. So, we're kind of on the fence in terms of what to tell you about it. So I probably was one of those, Nisepi. Moving on to Jerry, particularly because it's a mineral sunscreen and other mineral sunscreens have much lower critical wavelength. What's The Secret to PC Mineral Sunscreen's formulation. Jerry, this looks like a two-parter, and I'm not seeing part one. I'll see if I can come across that. Anthony wants to know what my favorite serums are and why. I mentioned the ones that I already use, so I could just go through those really quickly. The Calm Repairing Serum, I love. I have more sensitive skin that's normal to oily, and I love the texture of that. I can be occasionally prone to redness or some blotchiness, particularly in the beard area. And I love how soothing and how lightweight that feels, and I always notice a nice difference in the overall clarity and color of my skin when I use it. And it layers beautifully with other boosters and other serums. I never have an issue with it. Ditto for the Power Berry Serum, which I love because of the research that we uncovered on the fascinating antioxidant benefits of the different berries we chose to go in there. The way that the anthocyanidins, the proanthocyanidins, the different compounds in those berries have both antioxidant and anti-inflammatory benefits. And the base of that serum, of course, it feels very light. It's nice and layerable, but the natural pink color that Earth Source Power Berry Serum has really enlivens my skin color. And when you're as white as me, anything that does that is a winner. And it does it in it's subtle. It's not makeup. There's no artificial color in that serum. It's almost kind of like how after eating raspberries, you may notice like a bit of a red tinge to your lips. Not like you put on lipstick or even a gloss, but there's just a bit more of a heightened color to your lips. That's kind of how I equate it. The other one, both the Resist Intensive Wrinkle Repair Retinol Serum and the Resist Super Antioxidant Concentrate Serum have similar, slightly thicker, more viscous, but very silky silicone-based textures. I love how those feel on my skin. And like in the nights that I used the antioxidant concentrate serum, I typically don't follow with the moisturizer because to me that's just so nice and rich. And it does leave a sheen. Both of those leave a sheen on the skin, but at night, I don't care. I mean, they're so full of great ingredients. The Resist antioxidant concentrate in particular is a brilliant source of palmitoyl tripeptide 5, which is an excellent signaling peptide that's got a natural affinity for skin. Really helps, it helps offset damaging collagen degrading enzymes and helps build new collagen. Then you've got about a 5% slug of tetrahexyl diesel ascorbate, which is a fat soluble form of vitamin C that's got some great research behind it. For those two ingredients alone, I love that serum. And then the wrinkle repair, I like the combination of the retinol at 0.1% with kelp, the sea kelp that's in there, and the oat extract, which is incredibly soothing, anti-inflammatory, and also a nice source of prebiotics. Hey, anything like that. Prebiotics would be, you can get them from certain food sources like oats, certain grains, bananas, artichokes, and anything that has what are considered more complex sugars, polysaccharides, fructooligosaccharides. And what prebiotic ingredients do on skin is that they help to they serve as a food or an energy source for the good probiotic bacteria that makes up your microbiome, the natural balance of flora and fauna on skin's surface known as the microbiome. So prebiotics help your skin to make the right probiotics to keep its microbiome balanced. That's where that whole concept of balancing the microbiome comes into play. Putting just as a quick aside here, a quick little skincare lesson, putting probiotics on skin isn't going to balance your microbiome because everyone's microbiome is different. It's like, I always wonder, you hear that no two snowflakes are the same. And I'm like, how do they know that? Who's out there looking at them all? But it's been well established in terms of what we know from research about what makes up a person's microbiome, how and why it changes. It's safe to say that your microbiome is not the same as the person sitting next to you, as your spouses, as your best friends, as the bus driver. And it changes. It's going to be different in the morning than it is at lunchtime. It's going to be different if you travel someplace new. So it's always in flux. That's the point. And when you know that, you understand that there's no way that, given the number of probiotics, the different combinations, the different concentrations you could use, how could one single product with probiotics ever balance your microbiome? But the prebiotics can play a strong role in that because they work with the naturally occurring probiotics on your skin to help your microbiome balance itself without the need for live probiotics, if you're following me. Okay, let's get back to some questions. Who's asking? Let's do serum questions. Cheryl says, my Nordstrom in Milwaukee. Carrie's Paula's Choice. Yep, we're in, I think right now about 65 to 70% of Nordstrom stores in the United States. Resist Eye Cream for the win. Feria says, for PIH, which is post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, which product will be best? Oh, it depends. There are a lot of options, actually. If you have a lighter skin tone, like me, your post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation is likely pink to red. There is no melanin skin pigment component to it. It's just a byproduct of inflammation, and you're seeing that blood, the extra blood supply that went to that area during the inflammatory process, and some of it kind of gets stuck, for lack of a better word, once the inflammation subsides and the blemish goes away. For those, anything that you can do that it will calm the skin down and increase or encourage cell turnover. So AHA, BHA exfoliant, I would prefer BHA, particularly if you're dealing with clogged pores and breakouts, because it's oil soluble. It's just better for that purpose, generally speaking. I know some of you out there get great results from AHAs for your breakouts. If that's you, more power to you. You can absolutely use AHAs for breakouts. It's just that the manner in which BHA works, it, generally speaking, will be the better choice. Azelaic acid, such as in our 10% azelaic acid booster, incredible anti-inflammatory. If your PIH has a melanin component to it, which can be common from about a medium skin tone on down to the darkest skin tone, in that case, my first choice would be a product with hydroquinone, simply because 2% hydroquinone over the counter in a fragrance-free gentle base. Hydroquinone is just the gold standard for lightening excess melanin, causing those dark spots, whether it's a dark spot from sun exposure or a dark spot from post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. If you have the pink to red hyperpigmentation, hydroquinone will not work at all. It acts on the melanin, and there's no melanin component involved in the pink to red marks, typically not. So that would be my first choice. Second choice, or you could certainly use them at the same time, would be to use a higher strength vitamin C product. An example would be our C25 booster, which gives you 25% of ascorbic acid, which is pure vitamin C. And as long as you're keeping your skin protected from unprotected exposure, protected from unprotected, great choice of words. As long as you're wearing sunscreen every day, being diligent about that, you can expect to see results in about 2 to 4 weeks. With full results probably around the 4 to 6 week mark. You have to be patient. I know. I deal with those marks too. They suck. They can take a long time to go away, but I promise you, using skincare to hasten the process and protecting your skin from the sun, those marks will fade a heck of a lot faster than if you did nothing. Alrighty, Barbara says, what do I think of NuFace and other devices that use electrocurrent? Do I think they can have an effect on skin firmness? Barbara, I haven't done a recent deep dive into such devices, but I think that they can be effective for some people if you're willing to commit to using them follow the schedule that the manufacturer recommends. Obviously, such devices have limitations. NuFace has been on the scene for quite some time. Plastic surgeons aren't going out of business. Cosmetic dermatologists are not doing fewer fillers or less Botox or similar procedures because the NuFace is just the bee's knees. I think what you're going to see, I think that it can be, for some people, it can be complementary to great skincare and cosmetic corrective procedures that a dermatologist can do. In terms of firmness, I think what tends to happen with those devices is that it's almost like a mild form of shock therapy, and that they target they target the fibrous tissue in the skin, the collagen and the muscles, and they cause those fibers to temporarily contract. But then you have to keep using the device, because if you don't, those muscles are going to go back to normal. They're going to loosen up a bit, just as they were. It's whether it's from the natural progression of aging, or that's just how they naturally are. They're going to go back to that if you stop using the device. So I'm almost wondering with those devices, this is speculation on my part, but I'm almost wondering if some of the results people see are because of that, and potentially some low-level inflammation that occurs beneath the surface of skin. You do that often enough and in a controlled manner, I could see a person perceiving that as my firmness is increasing, or my sagging areas, that first sign of sagging, my skin looks more lifted now. Do I think that's the best way to handle your skin long term? Probably not. But I don't think that they're harmful. I think that if you're curious to try them, go for it. But, look out for the return policy or the guarantee, the warranty. Just make sure you know what you're getting into, and make sure particularly that you're willing to follow the usage schedule that the manufacturer states is necessary. None of those devices, whether it's LED, microcurrent, dermabrasion, none of those devices are going to be much help at all if you only use them once a month, or when you remember, or when you have a few extra minutes, which who does? That's why I like those things that you could like the wearable tech that you can put on, and like LED glasses that shoot the light at the right around the crow's feet area, and you can just when you're sitting down to catch up on a TV show, you can just put on that device and get your wrinkles treated at the same time you're catching up on your shows. Liz says, hi, Bryan. I recently opened a new bottle of PC cleansing oil, and I found that it really, really stings my eyes. I've used this oil for a long time without this stinging. Any ideas, please? Oh, that's a tough one, Liz. To the best of my knowledge, we have not made any adjustments to the formula, but our client services team may know something in that regard that I am not aware of. I wish as much as I'd love to be on top of every single change that happens to our products, there's just no way. There's just too much going on, and it happens so fast. Not that there isn't room for improvement there, but my suggestion to you would be to call our client services team and report the issue to them. Given that you've used the product in the past without issue, they may offer to send you another bottle, but my concern would be, if the bottle is from the same batch as your recent order, are they just going to be sending you this exact same thing that you have now, as opposed to maybe getting you into a different cleanser? The other thing to consider is, since you used your last bottle of the Perfect Cleansing Oil, is there anything eye makeup wise that you've changed? Are you using a new mascara, new eyeliner, new concealer around your eyes? It's possible that the mixture of the cleansing oil with that new makeup item, and then a little bit of that getting into your eyes, that combination could be what's triggering the stinging, not the cleansing oil itself. And I'm speculating on that based on your previous history with it. And again, to the best of my knowledge, we have not made any formulary changes to that, but don't quote me. Call client services, see what they have to say, and then I know you're typically with us for our live chats, Liz. So please come back and let me know what they say, and I can do some follow up as well. Hi, Eric. Yes, all is good with me and the family. Ellen, follow up from her other question. She does want to use the vitamin C for brown spots, melasma, and PIH. Thank you for your advice. Love you and PC for all. Thank you, Ellen. Ellen, add it to your routine. I love it. I love it for that. I've been using it for that purpose, and last Friday I went into one of the aesthetic clinics in the area here, and I went in to have a broadband light, which is kind of a newfangled IPL or intense pulse light. It is a non-ablative, non-laser light treatment that is supposed to be good for dealing with areas of redness and mild hyperpigmentation. So what the esthetician who I met with, and I've worked with her before. She's great. She suggested, she asked if I'd ever done a VISIA scan. I think that's what the machine is called, which is it's a machine that takes very detailed photographs using a special light that lets you see, and this is fun, the damage beneath the surface of the skin. Essentially seeing the damage that you'll get to, eventually if you live long enough, it'll show up. I should say, if you live long enough and you don't take great care of your skin or do anything to stop that from showing up. And to my surprise, I told her where my areas of concern were, and I actually have a couple patches of what she described as melasma through here and a little bit through here, and it's not very dark at this point. And I suspect part of that is my years of sunscreen use and my ongoing skincare routine. I use a lot of ingredients that help keep that pigmentation at bay. But when you look at it under the surface with the Visio scan, you can see where those clusters are. And it's kind of fascinating in that regard. I'm going to ignore the doorbell. I don't even know who that would be at this hour. But anyway, in fact, I'm going to go close that door real quick. It turned out I'm not a good candidate for BBL because the part of the frequency of light that is emitted can actually excite the excess melanin in the lower layers of skin, which would mean that I may see an initial improvement from the BBL in terms of the hyperpigmentation, the melanin, but then because the lower melanocytes got excited, they could work up to the surface even faster and in greater clumps or clusters. Therefore, down the road, that discoloration would look worse. So what she did instead, and I really appreciate her offering this because I think it was the more effective choice, and it was also the less expensive choice by about $200, was she did a 50% pyruvic acid peel. And pyruvic acid is known as an alpha keto acid. I'm exploring it more because I wasn't super familiar with it, and she explained it to me. It's sort of like vinegar. It has a vinegar type scent. It's sort of acetic acid like, which is the acid in vinegar. And it's an interesting peel to do because the esthetician has to watch how it works on your skin, and when it gets to a certain point, I guess in terms of how it looks, they take baking soda and they neutralize it. So the whole process, separate from the prep, the whole process of the peel took about 8 minutes. And she said my skin handled it very well. And we're about, tomorrow will be a week since I've had it done. It's going to take a couple more peels before I really see an improvement in the hyperpigmentation. But in terms of smoothness, texture improvements, improvement in clogged pores. Pyruvic acid is actually supposed to be on par with about a 30% salicylic acid peel for those with acne. So I found it kind of fascinating. I was a little nervous about going into using that ingredient that I wasn't too familiar with and in such a high concentration. But like I said, I trust this esthetician. I've worked with her before. I don't think she'd steer me wrong, and I appreciated the fact that she was right there in the room, because I asked her, I said, "So do you just are you just gonna paint it on and then leave?" Because I've had AHA peels years ago, and that's what they did. They just and then they go and read a book or check their email. I don't know, and then they come back like 20 minutes later. Are you doing okay? Not really. Anyway, it went well, and I would do it again, and I barely had any side effects. No flaking or sheeting off or anything like that. I still am dealing with my facial skin feeling a bit on the tighter side, almost like it can't get enough moisture. But that is passing and getting better day by day. And so I'll keep you guys posted because I'm going to do it again. Okay, got a few more minutes left. It's time for lightning round. Okay. Nell says, what do I think of LED treatments? I think if they are done in an office setting with protective eyewear, you want to protect yourself from the LED light, whether it's red or blue. I think the red LED light treatments done in office can be potentially helpful for wrinkles and collagen stimulation. The blue LED lights tend to be better for dealing with an overproliferation of acne-causing bacteria. Used to be called P. acnes or Propionibacterium. Now it's Cutibacterium. They changed it. They changed the genus name, I think it's called, to C. acnes. So keep your expectations realistic. Some of the handheld LED devices that you can get, they're like $500 to $600, $700 a piece. They can come pretty close to doing what a dermatologist can do. But I would tell somebody, like if I was advising my mother, to go for a couple of in-office LED treatments first and gauge what kind of results you get, and then decide if you want to get a handheld device, pony up that several $100s. I think in the long run, those devices can save you money if you like what you see at the doctor's office, but don't like to pay however much it is per treatment every 6 weeks. Rafa fan says, looking very butch in the flannel. Oh, well, it's flannel weather. So thank you very much. I do. It's comfy clothes. Okay. Left Isla says, oh, wow, this is the first time I've caught a live stream. Love. Oh, well, hey, welcome. We're live. I'm looking for a serum. Kristen says, I'm looking for a serum to improve texture of fine lines on my cheeks and increase firmness and reduce sagging. I'm 54. Which serum would you recommend for me? Kristen, if you're not already using an AHA exfoliant, I'm going to tell you a combination that I think would be fantastic for all of those concerns. However, I am predicating this device, we were just talking about devices, I'm predicating this advice on the hope that you're wearing sunscreen every day, you're not tanning, including in a tanning bed. It's just it's the hard truth. Not using you as an example at all, but just for everybody, it's the hard truth that no anti-aging skincare product, no matter how much you spend or how much of a certain ingredient it contains, is going to be of much help if you aren't stopping and doing everything you can to curb environmental damage, which includes sun damage to your skin. I wish if I was somebody that could tan easily, I would love to go around looking tan all the time and knowing I wasn't damaging my skin, but it just doesn't work that way. That's life. So the combination, though, I think our Resist Advanced Smoothing Treatment with 10% AHA, you can apply that every night, maybe every other night, see how your skin responds. That and then follow with the peptide booster is going to address all of the concerns that you mentioned. Use the sunscreen. Hopefully you already are. If you were already using a lower strength exfoliant and you start using this 10% product, the Serum product, love it, that I recommended, try using that. On the night you use that 10% strength, don't apply your other exfoliant. Once you see how your skin responds to that product, then you can gradually work back in your other exfoliant and layer those if you want to. And then finish with your moisturizer at night. If you are not currently using a moisturizer that you love, I would suggest, based on your age and your concerns, I would suggest the Resist Intensive Repair Cream, which is great for normal to dry skin. It's got a little bit of retinol in it, jojoba oil, peptides, lots of different antioxidants. I think you're really going to love how that feels. Okay, one more question. Let's see if I can find. Oh, we got that one. Okay. Oh, this is an interesting one from Left Dialogue. How do we tell if a moisturizer is a humectant, emollient, or occlusive? Labels don't always say, and which is better for dry skin type. So the labels don't say that typically because a really good moisturizer for dry skin is going to contain all of those types of ingredients. So an emollient would be any of the butters, petrolatum, mineral oil, as a couple other examples, squalane. Your plant oils are going to all be in the emollient family. A humectant is going to be something that attracts and holds moisture to skin. Hyaluronic acid, glycerin, mucopolysaccharides, sodium hyaluronate, sodium PCA, and those are one or more of those are typically in a moisturizer for dry skin. And then occlusive is essentially a subset of emollients, in that petrolatum or Vaseline is probably the most well-known occlusive. And what is meant by occlusive is an ingredient that forms a flexible barrier on skin surface that protects it from air. It does not mean that it suffocates the skin, although petrolatum, just as that example, even a thin layer of petrolatum over your facial skin is going to feel, for most people, heavy. However, if you have really dry skin, one of the products that I really like, that I will use occasionally if my skin's just like super, super dry, because that does happen, is I'll layer several different water-based products, like one of our water-based serums, our water-based toner, Radiance Renewal Mask, for example, and then I seal all of that with a thin layer of CeraVe healing ointment, which has a lot of petrolatum in it, as well as shea butter. I believe it has some plant oil. I'd have to double check. But it's one of my favorite rescue products for super, super dry skin or any areas of irritated skin. I love our Lip and Body Treatment Balm from Paula's Choice for the lips, but that is too thick feeling and too difficult. It really is more of a spot treatment. It's too difficult to try to spread over my entire face. So, and yes, that whole CeraVe thing at the end can feel greasy, but when my skin is that dry or that compromised, this is something I would do at night before bed. I don't mind. I'll go to bed like that, wash my pillowcase the next day. It's all good. So I hopefully that answered your question, and I will be back next week. I'll be here every Thursday in November, except for Thanksgiving, as we're closed that day. I will be eating way too much food and enjoying time with family. I hope you will do the same. Whomever you call family, whoever makes you feel great about you and gives you compliments about your skin, even better. So thank you guys so much for joining me this week. We'll be back with a new topic, new category next week. So think of your questions, and I'll pop back in to the video on our channel before that and see if you had any follow-up questions for me to address. Take care.